Welcome to the Lean Blog Podcast. Visit our website at www.leanblog.org. Now, here's your host, Mark Graban.
Hi, this is Mark Graban. Welcome to episode 157 of the podcast for August 23rd, 2012. My guest today is Nick Sarillo. He is the founder of Nick's Pizza and Pub, which has 2 locations in suburban Chicago. And he's the author of the new book, which will be out September 13th, available for pre-order at Amazon and other sites, called A Slice of the Pie, How to Build a Big Little Business. Now, I'm interviewing Nick. I had a chance to meet him and visit one of his restaurants and spend some time with him back in 2012. I was in the Chicago area. I had just blogged about a really nice article about Nick and his operations and leadership approach that was in Inc. magazine. And you can find links to both my earlier blog post and that article if you go to leanblog.org/157. Now, this isn't a podcast about pizza. It's about culture and leadership and having a great organization. I think you'll find a lot that parallels the lean methodology and management approach, whether it's in manufacturing or healthcare. I think there's really a lot to admire and a lot to take away from the discussion with Nick and from his book, which I had a chance to preview a galley copy of through the publisher. So thank you to them for that. Check out the book. Again, it's Nick Sarillo, A Slice of the Pie. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast today.
Grateful for the opportunity, Mark. Thank you very much, and for giving me this opportunity to share what we do at Nick's and what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you can share that with the listeners. And for me personally, it's nice to be able to follow up. It was 2 years ago when I had a chance to meet you and visit your restaurant, and so really excited that your book is coming out and we can talk about that. So, can you start off? I'm curious, for the listeners, if you can tell the story about how you started Nick's Pizza and Pub. I think that's a really neat story.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was. I was a carpenter for many years. I mean, I grew up a little bit in the restaurant industry. My dad had a small place in the city, a little beef stand in Chicago. And so I had a little bit of experience in the restaurant business as a kid. And then I got out of high school and I had enough of the restaurant business and actually became a carpenter. And with that, was in had a construction business for several years. And that's where I had the experience of actually having 3 kids of my own, trying to go out to eat with my kids and having the kids have fun and actually being treated well and not like my kids were a pain in the server and whatever it was. And that's where it came to me that there was an opportunity for me to combine my construction skills and design skills and design and build my own restaurant and create a different kind of family experience in the restaurant industry. Even though the market was pretty saturated, I thought I had an opportunity to use my dad's beef sandwich and pizza recipe along with my carpenter ability to build something new and different, and that's what I set out to do.
Yeah, and you've built, not just the buildings, but a really interesting business. And one of the things I think is really cool about what you're doing, that sense of purpose. It sounds like you started with a sense of purpose that was far deeper than, hey, I want to make some money selling pizza. It's about what the place represents. And I'm curious, how do you get others in as you've built the business and the locations? How do you get other people to share that sense of purpose and have that be such a central point of how the place operates?
Yeah, it's a great point because actually, as you said, I did start with a sense of purpose, and I believe just like many entrepreneurs and many managers, it was deep in my gut, and I didn't know how to get that and articulate that out. Mm-hmm. It was passion. It was strong passion, and I had my business up for 7 years before I really got that clarity and worked with a consultant to help me do that. And in those first 7 years, I was like many owners. It's you have this passion and you know how important every customer is, what we call guest is, and then when a host didn't smile or a server didn't treat someone well, I was like, don't you get it? Don't you understand? Can't you read my mind? And so that's where developing our purpose, for our company and our values actually became so important. Especially with operations as big, we have 350 seats, 9,000 square feet, 40 people working at once in a very high volume, stressful environment. And so how we, I guess the first thing I would say is the first thing we do is actually taking the time to define our purpose. And it wasn't just me telling everybody, it was a collaborative effort of our whole team who did that, and then that clarity has to be, it has to be a part of every action we take in our organization, in our business. So how we do it is many different ways, but it really starts right off the bat with, on the cover sheet of our application, we actually state our purpose and our values. And so now when somebody comes to fill out an application, we're going to ask them to read this cover sheet and make sure that's a part of that is something they want to be a part of. And if that is something they want to be a part of, then go ahead and fill out the application. If not, then it's not the right place for you. And believe it or not, some people say, okay, that's not what I want. That works. So that's one of the processes, and there's many processes that I write about in the book that again integrate our purpose and our values into the behaviors of our team, and we recognize those behaviors as leaders often, and that's really what's important as well.
Yeah, and in the book you write about the manager's main job, aligning everybody to that purpose more closely, the Nix experience, as you call it. I mean, can you share some examples or an example of how managers either kind of see and may recognize the right behavior or kind of coach people to make sure things or decisions they're making about how they do their job, how they interact with people align with that purpose?
Yeah. I mean, it's what we do is for me it was really important that when I completed this work, that purpose and values wasn't just a sheet of paper on the wall. And I've always felt that purpose is different than mission and different than vision. It's present tense, here and now. Right? It's why we do what we do. Not what we do. I mean, it's actually why we do what we do. And then the values are more the how we do what we do. And they're both present tense. And so that's what's different, I think, about a mission is something you're going to get to. We have mission teams, actually, a menu mission team, a bar menu mission team, that we're going to take the hill. So to your point, because purpose and values are present tense, now they become action standards that our leaders and our trainers could recognize in the moment, not something that we're going to strive to someday. Because when in a mission or when you use language about striving to or getting to or something like that, then there's some wiggle room around performance that I don't have to do that right now. I'm still working on getting better.
Yeah.
So that's how the tangible parts that our management team, our leadership team gets to recognize in the moment, and they will do that. So an example is just something as simple as me walking in today and seeing a guest walk in and a server, our host actually from 10 feet away have big eyes and a big smile. As soon as that guest got one step in the door, a big welcoming hi, and that's as I'm walking by as a leader, I just actually connected. Wow, that's a great smile, great entry recognition, as a part of our moments of magic. So either connecting it and actually saying the words, that way to be on purpose, connecting the word in the purpose, or the word of, for us, moments of magic, or one of our values. That's the example of what I just did, but it's the example of what the managers and leaders in our company continue to do, is actually to find those words and those actions and tie them back to the words in the values.
Yeah.
I think that's from my experience, it's a missing piece with a lot of managers and leaders is they'll use generalizations and they'll hold like assumptions about what we mean by our purpose or our values, and then in those assumptions, in those generalizations, the real impact gets diminished, in the moment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I'd love to, at some point, sit you down and chat with a group of people, managers and leaders at a hospital, because, that's the type of organization that should have, it has a very strong sense of purpose and mission and values, but I think there are a lot of applications for taking, the lessons you've learned and the things you're doing to help create better alignment in organizations like that, which is one reason I'm hoping everyone goes and gets your book and reads it. One other thing that I want to spend some time talking about, you talk about what's missing, that alignment and that clarity. One thing that is sadly present in organizations, and I think a lot of my listeners would agree with you, that we need to move away from what you describe well as fear-based management and command and control, and that you have alternatives to that. First off, why do you think this idea of what you call fear-based management is so common, that people in healthcare and factories and a pizza restaurant are trying to kind of drive that out of the way people manage? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm pretty passionate about that piece because I've seen the results not only in my own leadership as I shifted from being a foreman with a construction crew, and being brought up in a kind of an old school leadership model to being more of a coach, and I've seen the results, especially in the younger generation. 70%, we have 200 team members here, and 70% of them are under the age of 25. So, and I've seen how well they perform in this group that most people say don't have a good work ethic or don't care, and I strongly disagree with that because of what I've seen. By this younger generation, especially the younger generation, but I think a lot of people do, they have a higher expectation of leadership today. I do think they have a strong work ethic. They want to be a part of something more meaningful in work, and that's where connecting a purpose, a bigger meaningful thing, is actually connecting with our 16, 17-year-olds. Whether they're washing dishes, making a pizza, or even taking out the garbage, and because we always talk about how that's actually creating the connection for our guests, or connecting to the quality of our product, and then actually trusting the team to perform at a high level. At the same time, though, we have to also track the performance and track the behaviors that are leading to that high performance, and keep celebrating the positives. That's where that's the difference with trust and track and command and control. And by doing that process, trusting sometimes it's a little trust in the chaos, especially, imagine in a kitchen in a restaurant that's doing 600 pizzas a day, and we have everybody moving fast, and then breaking down the whole kitchen, what we call the heart of the house, and allowing the team to actually work through their own process of breaking that down without a boss telling them what to do next. And that's what we do here. And what I found is that the team, by stepping back and being less in control as a leader, the team actually innovates and creates and is more creative than I could think of by myself. Of processes and ways to improve. And of course, we tie it back to you got to be transparent. We have open books, so we're coming from a bigger picture place. We're sharing with the team. Here's the impact around our profitability, and as a leader, I'm being transparent about what's challenging for me. All that stuff integrates to a really effective leadership, and it needs it. I think it's really changing because we're not in an industrial age anymore. That's a thing of the past, and factories and all that stuff. The there's much more. Dan Pink talks about the conceptual age. There's a lot of articles out there about how we're in the conceptual age nowadays, and more creativity is needed.
Yeah, and I'm curious. Can you talk a little bit more about? I agree with you. You're right that the old model of as you put it, the old school boss saying, you need to do it that way or you're fired, that kind of fear-driven compliance approach. And can you describe, when I was there visiting with you, there's a lot of checklists and kind of standardized methods and ways people are taught to do things. So in that trust and track model, how do you how do you manage daily tasks in a way that's not fear-based? Yeah,
well, in most restaurants, you typically have a checklist, and a manager walks around with a checklist, following the server, following the cook, and making sure they're checking underneath the salt and pepper shakers and making sure every little thing is wiped. And so instead of treating our team like kindergartners that we have to babysit, we treat them like adults. Yeah. And we have a process called our operational cards, and these ops cards for short. And these ops cards actually have one side of the card, and they actually literally are. We use the format of old time cards, the time card slots, and these cards slip into the time card slots. One side of the card is green, and one side of the card is red. And when that card is 100, all the items on that card, so that card will actually list out all the items that, for example, have to be done to break down the pizza table when it's time to close. And the same thing for open. It'll list out the items that have to be done to open the pizza table. And once that card is complete, the team member will actually take that card and put it back in the slot with the green side up instead of the red side. So green side means it's complete. So now a manager or a leader at Nick's, from across the room, you could see all, if the heart of house, our kitchen is ready to open, all those cards will be green. And instead of watching over the team member, now that manager or leader actually has time to talk to guests, build sales, do other things that are more important. I have a great example of, I was just talking to Shanda, who works there. She's going to be a freshman in college, so she's 19. And it was right around about 2 months ago. I said, Shanda, you're working Fridays and Saturday nights. Don't you have a social life? You like working every weekend night here at Nick's? Because usually people are only scheduled one weekend night, and she was working a lot, 40 hours a week. And I go, why are you working so much? I actually thought that we messed up something with our scheduling, because she's a rock star, and I was concerned. I was like, I hope we didn't mess up. She goes, oh no, Nick, I love working here. It's I can go out after work. It's part of what I enjoy doing. I said, really? Why? What is it? And she said, because I love that we actually are on our own, that we are just allowed to get the work done that we know we got to get done. And as a team, we actually coach each other. We give each other feedback, and we don't have some boss standing over us to tell us what to do. So that was real feedback from her about why she actually enjoys working the hardest hours in a 100-degree kitchen.
Yeah. Well, that is great when people have that kind of excitement. As you talk about in the book, your turnover rates are really low, and one other thing maybe we can touch on. We have a couple minutes left. Is I remember you showing me and talking about the development, all the investment and training. If I remember right, a lot of it is somewhat self-directed from the employees in terms of what they choose to learn. Can you talk a little bit about that process? Yeah, that process. You're right. We do have less than 20% turnover in an industry that has typically 150% turnover. So, and I was when I was writing that part of the book, I was a little bit surprised because of how much positive feedback I got from the team members here at Nick's, especially the younger generation, the 18, 19-year-olds, where they actually said one of the things that they felt was a reason they liked Nick's and why it was a positive environment
was because their development was literally on the wall in the basements of our restaurant, and it's a certification process. So each team member actually sees their career path actually on the wall, and they get certified in each work group. And as they get more certifications, that's actually how they get their own raises. So their career path, their self-development path is actually something that they sign up for to get more certifications on their own. And then how fast they get raises for themselves is actually part of their own, is in their own control, their own development. It's pretty interesting. And I think it's that openness and that ability to, train people well in such a clear way, again, is another reason why we have the team, pushing each other to perform at a higher level. It's just, to me, what it all boils down to is, I hear so much. I was talking about this morning with my son, actually. You hear so much about those great cultures out there in these big companies, Starbucks and Google and Southwest Airlines and Zappos. And what I get excited about in sharing with other companies is, most of America is small business and everyday business that we're coming across, local plumbing support, store or liquor store or restaurant. And what we've done is we've shown people how we could have just as great of a culture as those big companies in our everyday businesses. Simply by being explicit with our purpose and our values about the culture we want to have, and then making that a focus in everything we do. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And I got a real sense of it when I was there and got to talk to some of your team members and see firsthand. There's some really special things happening. And I think like you said, there's a lot of applications for small business, but a lot of the leadership concepts and people development concepts, I think, will be. I'm thinking, if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listeners here, refreshing, a breath of fresh air if they work in a hospital with 5,000 employees or a larger company, with 50,000 employees, an industry that they can take, some of the great lessons that are here in your book and help apply that within their teams, even if they can't change the whole company.
Right. I mean, the hardest part I went through was when I was trying to hire managers, then I was getting managers from other restaurants that I thought would be the experts, and they were so stuck in the habits of telling people what to do instead of, being cops instead of coaches. Yeah. That, I found that I had to find a different mindset in a leader that was not afraid of being transparent, of sharing their own mistakes, and actually sharing our numbers with our team, because the team actually, once they get a bigger understanding like that, they will exceed your expectations in their performance. And so we think of our business as a school, and I think that's the opportunity is to think of everybody's business as a school and train the team to make it their focus.
Yeah. Well, it's really great to have you share, kind of a bit of a preview of the great stuff that's in your book. The book is titled "A Slice of the Pie: How to Build a Big Little Business." What's the expected publication date?
It is. You can actually order it online right now at Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and to be released September 13th. Is our official release date.
Oh, great! Well,
that's what will be in the stores and everything.
Right around the corner, and excited for you. Congratulations on that! And if people are in the Chicago area, your locations are in Crystal Lake and Elgin. If people want to come in and have some pizza, how can they find you online? Either to learn more about the business or to come in and have a great family experience.
Yeah, you could. So www.nickspizzapub.com. And you could actually use the same thing to find us on Facebook, and the book is available through our company website as well. So that's that's a great way to actually connect with us. Of course, we're in the suburbs of Chicago, and I'd love to have anybody that comes by in either Crystal Lake or the Eldon Restaurant and says hi, and they heard this in any way. That would be fun too. I'm sure I'd buy him some a pizza or something. That would be fun. I mean, there's so much alignment between what what we talked about when you were here with lean systems and what we're doing. It's really exciting to talk to you about this stuff.
Yeah, and it's great to talk to you again. I hope I'm able to pop in again sometime when I'm in the area. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a group of some leaders from different hospitals come in and have some pizza and all chat and share stories about good leadership and great culture, great organization, and really tasty pizza. I could say that from firsthand experience. So, Nick Sarillo from Nick's Pizza and Pub. Again, the book is A Slice of the Pie, coming soon. Real pleasure talking to you again today. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you. Take care, Mark.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Lean Blog Podcast. For lean news and commentary updated daily, visit www.leanblog.org. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, email Mark at leanpodcast@gmail.com.